Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch. And in today's episode, we're asking the question, are you down to hang? This is prompted by an article in The Atlantic pointing to the fact that Americans are increasingly spending less time together than ever before. Let me share some stats with you. In studies that have looked at our social interaction going from 2003 to 2022, so that period of about 19 years running up to the recent past, what they found is that almost every demographic category has seen a remarkable drop in the time spent in a week interacting with other people. Now, not work interaction or school interaction, not forced interaction, but volitional social interaction. So in that time period, men, for example, dropped 30% in the amount of time they were spending hanging out with each other. And you might say, well, you know, men, they get married, they have kids, they get busy. That's why they don't hang out. Actually, that's not true, because unmarried men in the same time period dropped 35%. So even men that don't have wives, don't have children, don't have people waiting for them at home are hanging out less than ever before. Teenagers, now it used to be cliche, teenagers hanging out at the mall or going out in their cars, or teenagers during that same time period spend 45% less time actually interacting with other people in social situations which they choose. Now, we are spending time with something. That, of course, means our phones and screens and our pets. During the same time period, interaction with pets doubled. People are spending twice as much time with their pets. Actually, now in the United States, for a woman, for example, who has a pet, she on average in a week spends more time social interacting with that pet than she does an actual human being. Now, why is this important? Well, really for two reasons. One is because we've never been more isolated as a culture. We've also never been more anxious, more lonely, or more depressed. We've covered that ad nauseum here on Wake Up, Look Up. Those things are connected. When God says in Genesis that it isn't good for man to be alone, what he's saying is that he created humans for more than they can do on their own. That there is something innately human about being a part of something bigger than ourselves, about realizing that our impact on the world is meant to be more than we can do simply on the autopilot rhythm of going to work and going home. And we're missing that. We're not having that. And as a result, we find ourselves saying, what is life all about? Does my life have any meaning? And am I happy? Why am I not happy? We are alienating ourselves from part of what it means to be human, and as a result, becoming increasingly subhuman, which is why we spend our social time with non-humans, either on a screen or in our pets. We have to realize that part of the reason we're unhappy is because we're missing something that we were designed to have: community and relationship. But of course, I'm a pastor. This is a spiritual podcast. So the second reason this matters is because the Bible is full of one anothering. It's a major theme in the New Testament that most of what God has for me to do in my life, growing in my understanding of Him, growing in my relationship with Him, participating in the advancement of His kingdom, growing in my holiness, those are team sports. Nearly every time the New Testament talks about those things, it talks about them in conjunction with my relationship with other people. There's a limit on how much growth I can experience spiritually, of how close I can feel to God, of what I can see happen in my lifetime in His kingdom on my own. We're living in an era of social isolation, and that means what? We're showing up for church less. We're signing up for classes less, going to small groups less, spending time with other Christians less. Is it any wonder we feel not just anxious and lonely and depressed, but we feel spiritually disconnected from God and anemic? Listen, here's an immediate takeaway from this episode. You need friends. You need community. And I know that can be hard, and I know that can be awkward, and it can feel overwhelming. But if you're part of a local church, and if you're not, that's your immediate takeaway here. But if you are, I guarantee you they have mechanisms for helping you connect with other people. Shoot an email or a text to your pastor and say, hey, I'm alone and I shouldn't be, and I need to get connected. And then take a chance to show up. And for those of us that have community, open a spot in that community for one more person. And when they take that brave step of showing up to your small group, of joining your Bible study, of entering into a space where you're already comfortable, help pull them in. You might not only be advancing your own spiritual life, you might, and I'm not being hyperbolic, you might actually be saving their lives. It's not good for you to be alone. So don't be, not for one more minute. Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode of Wake Up, Look Up. While you're here, take a minute to like and subscribe. It really helps us get the word out. Don't hesitate to leave a review wherever you might find this podcast on an audio level and help spread the word. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content we have at Christ Community Chapel on YouTube. Some of those videos are popping up on the screen now. Click on one.